Friends, hello, how are you doing? I have a sneaking suspicion that everyone is very happy on this Friday, wherever you're at. Well, we had a good week in the market, and today was just the cherry on top, and we're going to talk about that. So, first things first, congratulations to everybody this week who made money, positions, whatever you did, wherever you hit, miss. It's phenomenal what's going on in the market right now. It's unbelievable. Now, is it going to keep up, or are we going to stay in this situation where the market's moving back up? I don't know. I don't know, obviously, but we're going to take what we can at this point, and we're going to be ruthless like the market, and we're going to take money, and we're going to take positions, and that's what's happening right now. So S&P, its numbers are moving right back up. Can we get to a 58 here next week? Next week is earnings again with a lot bigger companies. I mean, next week is going to be like mother load of big earnings here, and then the week after, going into May here, really some big quarterlies coming out here. So be excited a lot. If you think things are hot this week, just wait to see what's coming here. So let's get right into that. I want to go right into Big Bear, because it's obviously the big thing. So everyone's commenting today, why didn't I talk about the new contract with Big Bear? The video I made yesterday, that video was released before this contract news came out. So anyway, here we go. New contract with Big Bear, and essentially, who would know? Who thunk it? It's a defense contract. I mean, so here's another one right here. I mean, it's we're what is this, the fourth, fifth one at this point? Very early into the year. This is why people have been continuing to pay attention to Big Bear, and at this point, it's a very strong indication that Big Bear could maybe hit this 180, 190. $200 million mark here this year with revenue, which would be, it doesn't sound like a lot, obviously, when we talk about AI stocks, but it's a lot for them. It's a different pattern. It's a different road where they're going right now. So essentially, I'm obviously not going to read all this. I don't think anybody wants me to sit here and Billy Madison this thing. But essentially, this is Big Bear powers U.S. next gen submarine contract using AI digital twins. So essentially, this is defense contract, and here we go. Now, as of right now, I could not find numbers. They have not released what this contract, what this partnership, what it entails when it goes to money. That will probably come later, but I don't know, what the money's going to be. So if, as soon as I see that or somebody else sees that, please comment. I've looked on both websites where both companies, middle ground, everything, I couldn't find anything. So I don't think it's been released yet. I mean, this is pretty much brand new. It came out literally like late last night. With this situation that we're seeing right now, Big Bear took a huge dive up today. I mean, just really volume out of control. The stock was trying to get to $4 today. Essentially, just came short. Here couple cents here, and then kind of ended the day here around a three. We're right back under this 350 mark here, $3.50, and this is where I want to be with Big Bear. I like where Big Bear's at right now. So the situation, bullet point this out, where we're sitting right now with Big Bear. Big Bear has quarterlies coming out here, okay? May 1st, they're going to have quarterlies. Now, are they going to hit these quarterlies? I don't know. I'm not even counting on it. But what I would at least like to see is them to have the biggest quarterly they've had. Even if they don't hit what their expectation is, maybe they will at least, do have a really good quarterly here. Now, I do suspect that if they're going to have a quarterly that's going to be their first big quarterly that's going to, beat expectation, this is probably going to be the one, okay? But it's hard to say. It's hard to say at the same time. Big Bear has essentially almost every 45 days at this point, it's gotten a new contract, a government contract that we know of, and we don't know what were the little business dealings in the middle here. Usually when companies announce deals, they're for big companies, to get investors riled up and excited. And that's essentially what's happening here. So Big Bear, from what we can trail back to the last quarterly to the first big deal to these pocket deals to these big deals, medium-sized deals since, October, November, December, January, February, March, and, here we are now. We should see a really good quarterly. At least we know that. Okay, now is it going to beat expectation? I don't know. I don't know. But it's going to tell us a few things. It's going to tell us that Big Bear is on the right track probably to have the biggest earning year they've ever had. It's going to tell us that we are seeing massive compounding on these quarterlies. And with this too, this deal that just happened, this won't even, this is late. This is Q2 stuff, okay? So it's still early in the year. That's the exciting part that's going on right now. It's still early in the year. Now, listen, if you're new to me yapping about Big Bear, I will fully admit, and I've talked about this since, I started talking about this company back in October, September of last year. They've got problems. There are problems that need to be addressed. One right now that's lingering is this lawsuit deal that needs to be wrapped up and submerged, but it's still going to be here for a minute because it's going into the summer at this point. And, that was a lot of the big headline today too, where you were just seeing article after article about this lawsuit situation. I don't want to talk about it. I've talked about it so much, it's pretty much point blank what it is, and it has nothing to do with the finances coming up here. And the other big thing too is that Big Bear does have past debt. They have debt that they need to pay off. Now, obviously, positives that we're looking at, we've got a new CEO who is obviously, there is something going on with, it's obvious at this point. Kevin, the new CEO, who's been with Big Bear, but now he's been appointed the CEO. Kevin's background has been, rubbing shoulders with Trump. He has a military background himself. So I don't think it's a coincidence that Big Bear is getting these government contracts. Obviously, Kevin is shaking hands with the right people. So I listen, I don't think anyone would be here listen to me talk, anyone, about Big Bear, and you wouldn't be spending your time, your money, your hard-earned work money in Big Bear if Big Bear wasn't getting these government contracts, okay? Because what do we know? Well, if we look at another company, and listen, it's apples and oranges. I get this 100% right now. It's a black and white situation, black and white picture of what I'm about to say here. When we look at one particular past company that really started to do this about 2.5 years ago, it was Palantir, okay? So I am in no way, so save the comment, I know it's coming. I know market cap, money, everything completely different, 100%. I mean, we're talking about the sun and the moon here, two different companies here when it comes to financials. But what I can say, someone who was there watching Palantir back at that stage back then, Palantir started to get these government contracts, and they just started to come in these pockets. They started to get more and more and more, to the point where it's like Big Bear right now. We were like, good, they just got another one. They just got another government contract. Can you believe that? Then in that time too, it happened in time. It took a minute here, but Palantir started to not only get these government contracts, but we started to hear about these other just random deals with these other companies that were pretty nice contracts, big pockets of money coming in here, split up over, a small time of year, 2 point, 3 point, 5 point years. But with that, revenue was increasing significantly. Okay, so that's a hard word for me to say. Significantly, it was a lot. Okay, it was a slow growth, but look at where Palantir's at right now. So what I'm trying to say is that when people compare Big Bear to Palantir, I get, from investor to investor, friend to friend, I completely get it, and I agree. I see it. But obviously Big Bear's got a lot, they've got a lot of room to make up here. There's a lot of road to, start chipping away here. It's before they're even in the realms of getting to, they haven't even achieved a $200 million yearly revenue. Okay, they haven't even done that. So my hope for Big Bear this year, and I'm not even trying to be greedy, okay, would I love the stock to go to $10 to $15, $20? Of course I would. I'm a greedy, filthy, cutthroat investor just like the rest of you. We want every dime we can get. I'm not gonna lie to you. But more than not, what I want from Big Bear right now, I want Big Bear to get debt paid down. I want them to get this lawsuit situation, this crap dealt with and out of the news. Okay, they got it. They got it. If that wasn't going on right now, I fully believe Big Bear would be sitting around this where it's at right now, even to a $4 to $5 position. With those two things, obviously the other main thing too is that they keep getting deals. Deals. Money. What does the company need to survive? What does the company need to rise up in stock price? What does the company need to draw more investors in to get more attention? Money. Those are things that I want to see them just slowly start chipping away at this year. If we get to December of this year in 2025 and Big Bear is sitting around this $3.50, maybe $5.50, maybe we're in $6, $7 range at that point. We don't know what's coming here at this point. I'll be happy as a squirrel gathering nuts here. I absolutely. I'm not looking for a whole lot this year. My main thing with Big Bear this year is building position, building a wall, building whatever you want to call it, building a position here. And when Big Bear, maybe by the end of this year, they've had the biggest year with revenue. They've gathered a lot more contracts. I think there is something going on here with these contracts. It sounds silly to even say I think. There's obviously something going on with these contracts with Kevin, government, defense. It's pretty much, I think we can read what's, the elephant we can see in the room here at this point, what I'm trying to say. Next year is really what I'm curious to see about. Listen, Palantir sat at a $5 to $7, $10 position for on a good day for a long time. It felt like forever for Palantir to even move to a $10 position. Then I remember when it finally went to a $15 position, we were like, holy freaking smoke. And then when it got to 20, it sat around 20 for a good while, and then it went to like 27. We were like, holy crap. So these things take time, okay? I like slow-moving progress. It always does better in the end, okay? It always does better. So if Big Bear can continue to move on these deals, this is going to show what this company can do here next year. 100%. This is essentially what happened to SoundHound last year. I mean, I haven't even talked about SoundHound lately, but SoundHound's going to be having their quarterlies come out here soon. SoundHound last year, it just started to get deal. In every quarter that we saw, it got bigger than last one. Then it got real big. And then Q4 came out of 2024, and it was like the biggest quarterly the company's ever produced. And now Q1's going to come out here, and who knows what it's going to be. But that's why that stock went from $2. No one was talking about it. People were like, do not buy this company. But they were getting deals. They were getting money. They were getting a lot of money. And then the stock went to $24, $25 for a pretty good length of time. And now the stock's sitting around, this $8, $10 position. That's a heck of an investment right there. That is a heck of an investment for you. Friends, what I'm trying to say here with all of my yappings here is that I think Big Bear is going to continue to capture people's interest and attention here. There is far too much has happened at this point with Big Bear to ignore what is happening here with these government contracts. If you are an investor, you're probably saying the same thing, where you're going like, it's a risky situation. I get it. It's there's debt. That they're not making a ton of revenue, but they're making more revenue than they've ever made. Probably we haven't even seen Q1 here, but I think it's pretty safe to say they're making more revenue than they've ever made before at this point. If we look back through every 30 days here with these deals that we've seen, I just want to see Big Bear continue to do what it's doing, and it's doing that. Okay, that is all. That is my main focus right now. I think that should be the majority of all of us. Now, obviously, like I said, I'm greedy. I would love to see Big Bear, and I don't even know what this past thing was. I don't know what this submarine thing, what number wise. Okay, so there could be more to come here. Something could get released next week about what this may actually be. Big Bear could still at any point, and we saw this with Palantir. What if they got a contract for $400? $500 million? Could you spread out on a short time frame, like 2.5 years? That would be it. That would be it. That would tell us right there, okay, we're hitting $200 million this year. Probably we're flushing over that at this point. If they get a significant big contract here. I'm talking like over $100 million. Massive, something. This is going to change everything with Big Bear, okay? Then it's going to be where you're going to see bigger YouTubers talk about it. You're going to see more, Jim Cramer might actually say something positive about it. You're going to see things change over here. And then that's going to change the price. It's going to start getting expensive. It's going to start, when things get popular, they get expensive. I would much rather take a chance on Big Bear at these, and this is for you as an individual and an investor, where you have to decide. You can't come crying when things, if they don't pan out. And I'm talking to myself here. I would rather take risk now, buying as much as this stock as I can right now while it's this cheap, than coming back maybe at the end of the year when maybe it's sitting around $6, maybe $8, okay? And maybe there's a lot more happening at the end of the year than there is now. This is how people hit stocks. This is how people hit big winnings in the stock market. Like when you hear about, somebody's grandpa or somebody you hear about, oh man, they hit the stock and, they retired off of it, or, that was how they made 100,000, 200, who knows how much. Things like this happen. They happen. Now, obviously, we need to see a lot more evidence, but if Big Bear can capture one ginormous, if that's even a word, deal, this is going to be a telltale sign that, we are headed for unbelievable growth in this company. And, there's something to be said about this particular AI too, that Palantir, their bread and butter is. And then Big Bear too, their bread and butter of their software. It's wanted, it's needed, and the government likes it. A lot of companies like it. And just talking about Palantir, Palantir back over 110 flushed. May 5th, quarterlies, these could be the $1 billion quarterlies. I think they're going to flush over $1 billion 100%. I think that we are about to see the biggest quarterly we've ever seen with Palantir. I think this is going to be the one where the bears are just going to have to, they're going to have to eat mud. It's it's hard to bet against Palantir right now, dude. It's hard to bet against it. It's a dangerous place to bet against Palantir. It really is. And I just want to talk about SoFi. SoFi, what a massive leap. What a massive leap we've seen. And I told people this 2 weeks ago, man. I was like, listen, if you remember me making this video, I said, the thumbnail said, buy the dip. Buy the dip. I hope people bought the dip. SoFi here is going, it's looking for 13, it's looking for 14, it's looking for 15. It's probably going to find 15 probably Tuesday when quarterlies come out. More than likely, I think it's pretty safe to say, what do we know? We know that SoFi here will release another ginormous earnings. Will these earnings be over $1 billion? More than likely, yes. They're going to do it this year regardless. It's coming. Whether, if you can't stand SoFi, you hate SoFi, I'm sorry to tell you, but this year they will produce $1 billion quarterly, and it might be this one next Tuesday. This might be the one. If it is, this will be a huge movement for SoFi, and they undoubtedly will be going into just bigger numbers. These are essentially, Palantir, SoFi. I would be very careful betting against those stocks right now. Okay, whatever you're doing. Those are not stocks that I would bet against. I would not play around with that. Big Bear is still in this position where it is in this situation where it's trying to find more legs to stand on. It has problems that are being addressed. And listen, if Big Bear, like I said, if Big Bear wasn't getting these deals, and what if my fear yesterday was different than my fear today with Big Bear. My fear yesterday was that Big Bear was going down in price. It's obviously had a pretty good week here, but my fear was that Big Bear was not getting more deals. That was the thing that was scaring me. More partnerships. My fear was that this lawsuit deal was getting bigger. It was just, everything you looked up with Big Bear, that's all. That's the first thing. They want people to sue. They want people to get money. Lawyers are doing everything. They're paying for these articles. And I understand if there's people that have been wrong, then Big Bear needs to make it right. I get that. That's none of my business. But as an investor, like I said, I don't want to see bad articles about a company that I'm investing in. I don't want to see that. Whether it's Nvidia or Amazon or Tesla, even Big Bear, I don't want to see negative stuff. I don't want to see negative stuff. I want to see positive stuff. Okay. They need to get this wrapped up. They need to get wrapped up 100%. Friends, listen, it was a great week. I obviously will be back this weekend talking about more things. I just want to say congratulations. Great week. Great week. I'm excited for what we're about to. I think these next 2 weeks in the market will be very good. We are going to have all of our big companies start to report earnings here, essentially throughout May. May's bringing the heat here. So, I fully expect that the market will continue on this pattern that it's on right now, 100%, where we're just, the tariff situation has kind of went dormant, and, Trump seems to be backing down a little bit. Now, obviously, it's Trump. Who knows what he could say Monday morning? But we're in good, solid companies here. If you're in these companies, you're doing something right. You're doing the right thing here. But like I said, we are going into a situation where we're going to see, all of our companies produce earnings here coming up, and it's going to be a great month. I really do feel. I really feel like that. Friends, take care of yourself, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.